Hey. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Neighborhood Plan Committee meeting. It's January 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. And the first thing that we're going to do is talk about our time limit policy procedures. As far as our board meetings are recorded, and they can be found on the YouTube site. Our meeting materials can also be found on the Google Drive. Rules for speaking: anyone wishing to speak is asked to raise his or her hand, and when recognized by the chair, to address comments to the chair. Speakers are to keep their comments under 2 minutes. Public testimony is taken on each agenda item. Please silence all electronic devices. The commission may take action on any agenda item as required by the state sunshine law. Specific issues not noted on the agenda cannot be voted on unless properly added to the agenda. And we've got Tom Heinrich here. And I want to thank all of you that have just logged in, and especially to our Commissioner Crosscraft. Great seeing you, and hopefully we'll see you at the rest of these meetings coming up. And of course, our normal players in this with Kevin and Greg and Dr. Melendrez. So now we're going to go into a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Bernal,
Here.
Crab,
Here.
Pahinui, Smith,
Here.
Burek,
Here.
Yoninaka, here, Knight.
Here.
677, I got quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I sent out a read ahead, and all of you, and Dylan, thank you so much for the minutes. I tell you, I love this AI. I hope it's making your job much easier because it really looks good. So what I'd like to do right now, are there any changes to the minutes? Oh, you were,
I was not.
you weren't on the minute.
Correct.
Okay.
From the last meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why when I walked in, I was like, I'm part of this committee, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I had to do the minute.
So just to clarify, the correction is to add Angie Knight to the list of board members.
Yeah, I think it was board members absent. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other changes?
No, the rest look great.
Okay,
Looks good.
if there are no objections, we'll consider the minutes approved. Okay, one thing I'd like to do is also, I'd like to add one item to the agenda if there's no objections. I did get a resolution from the McCully Neighborhood Board 8 that I wanted to bring in today to give them good, fair chance and being proactive, getting their resolution to us. So if there are no objections, I'd like to put that in under the first item under new business as a discussion item.
Chair, I would ask, is this not going to violate sunshine law by?
No, I just want to make noted that we
Okay.
We're not going to do
Okay,
anything.
sorry.
Nothing big on it, because we're gonna leave that for your commission meeting next week.
Okay.
Okay, so for new business, I did receive from the McCully Neighborhood Board, and thank you, Dylan, for the assistant, I forgot who sent it. Curtis sent it to me. Yeah, so it's a resolution requesting an amendment to neighborhood plan 2-14106. And again, it's to remit email notification of board member absences. I think it's a real good suggestion. We will take this up in the neighborhood committee, but I just want to acknowledge that is received by our committee. And when we get to that section for review, we'll note it in for the discussions. Okay, moving on. The Neighborhood Plan Committee will conduct an outreach of all neighborhood boards, asking them to review their designated boundaries and determine if they have any requirement for any changes. They will be asked to investigate and directly coordinate with the respective neighborhood board related to the boundary change. The neighborhood board requesting the boundary change will be required to initiate a board-approved resolution submitted to the Neighborhood Commission for review and potential approval and recommended change to the neighborhood plan. And what I'm recommending is all submissions should be submitted to the Neighborhood Commission by the proposed date of Monday, April 27, 2026. And this is where I'm asking the committee to approve that date. We're giving them 90 days, and that gives them plenty of time to do homework, interact with the other adjacent neighborhood board, and get it in writing into a resolution request to us. Are there any objections? Yes.
Could you repeat that date?
Yeah, the date is April 27, 2026.
I have questions.
Yes.
So like for areas like YPO that has all the different neighborhood boards that all have that issue, are they being asked before April 27th to all meet up to discuss it, to pass a resolution?
Whoever is asking to change, does the homework and meets with those other respective board or boards. And for that particular thing, I'm one of those boards.
Yeah. Do you believe in, like, for example, that area to be able to meet and do all the homework and then also draft a resolution and have it passed in time?
Yes. And I think the reason is because I'm optimistic, because we got one particular person with Steve Melendez that's impacted by that as well, his board. And all of us have a great collaboration relationship. So I see a positive way forward.
Okay.
Chair.
Yes.
I was thinking that we were gonna have a plan to visit all the boards and actually discuss this with them, but that would obviously necessitate a huge change from the
It
calendar.
also pushes it way to the right. Because I really want to get through this thing and plus, but when they come back in and even when we say, yeah, we approve it, we're still gonna have to push it off up the chain to find out if it's really possible. Yes, Dylan?
As it's written down, it sounds like it's just for the boundaries.
Yes,
So we probably won't have a bunch of boundary changes. Composition is a different discussion, but this isn't about sub-districts or how many.
no, not at all.
Okay,
Yep,
so
and,
that might be more feasible.
yep, and, I don't expect a lot, because I've had my tentacles out there trying to reach out. And I know that, I've talked with IA in the past and it's up to them. I'm reasonable, especially when you look at, the zip codes for different areas. Because I got part of IA, Pearl City and one minor change and it's no impact, but it's that relationship between the two boards. And what the bottom line is doing what's right. Chinatown, I thought that they had a good, justification because Olive Park, they felt wasn't really being, stated for requirements for improvements and things like that. And the Chinatown board was volunteering to take that on. I didn't see an issue as long as Kalihi Valley accepted it. So for public, you got any comments on given 90 days for them to come up? Okay, no comments? All right, good. Go ahead, Tom.
Just a question as to, from prior discussion, it was a matter of asking neighborhood commission office of setting certain deadlines from which you backtrack to make sure that if certain proposals come in or whatever, that they fit into what we would expect would be necessary windows to get changes done to accommodate changes in boundary districts, district boundaries, for election purposes, et cetera. Is there any schedule like that kind of mapped out between now and February of 2027? Which would be the opening or the close of candidate registration for the 27th election process.
I would say the short answer is no, and it's really just because there's never a perfect time to get all of this, all lined up exactly. And so we're just,
Understood that there should be some mileposts.
well, I think like what he's doing is he's starting one by saying, just get us, so far, no one's been able to even get any kind of cohesive boundary changes amongst the boards. So he's setting a deadline right now. That's a first start.
And I think there's also a lot of discussion prior to that. Because I understand the need for having the stuff in. But are you saying for the board, if we want to change the boundaries, that we also need agreement from the other board?
Yes.
Because we're, that Olive Park, I heard Khalid's like, no.
Well,
So it's a discussion between two boards.
I would consider that a showstopper.
Yeah. But you never know. I mean, I think it's good to have a deadline and say we want it by this time. So the other part of that is if we have a short criteria of what we need or we expect from them, that they will say, this is what we want to change, and then our board and the other affected board agree that it's okay. Then that would help us move it down the road quickly.
Yeah, I'm hoping when I asked Dylan to send out this email blast to all the chairs of neighborhood boards that who knows, maybe in a week's time, you know, our commissioner chair has already responses saying, hey, there's 4 of them that right now they want change. So at least we got some numbers in advance.
Yeah, and I think, well, from my perspective, it's easier to have an outline, a brief outline of what we expect to get.
Yeah.
You know, and if we have that, then what I'll do is, I get my monthly chairs meeting, and I'll just push it out at that time. You know, then we'll push it out to all the boards from all the NAs and put it in part of their report to the chair and the board saying, you know, if you got any thoughts on boundary changes, this is the deadline, this is what we need from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll push it out.
I think my concern with the 90 days as opposed to like 120 days is that the board might not feel rushed, but the community might feel rushed. If this does affect their boundaries and their representation. So they might be like, okay, let's go. And then down the line, they're just like, wait, when did we ever comment on that? And it was that 1 5-minute time when they had to pass the resolution to get it to us.
Here's the good news, Angie.
That's where my concern
Our
is.
commission is flexible. And if a board came to us asking for an extension,
Yeah.
in all fairness, what's the impact? We
Yeah.
can give it to you. But the thing is, we're trying to get the job done. We
Yeah.
want to get this I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
When we go through the whole neighborhood plan. And I'd like to have this out of the way instead of carry it on 4 or 5 months
Yeah.
and we're ready to roll to tighten things up.
Yeah.
So we'll work it as we go.
Because I think it's also, I commend you and your neighborhood boards who can get stuff done and have that good rapport. That's not the universal story. And so those are more of the areas that I'm concerned with. And if they already have a hard time organizing their own board to coordinate with other boards and to get a reso through, 90 days will seem like a mountain.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm involved with the 3 neighborhood boards. So I won't be sitting on this. We'll be moving forward. So then actually, my next agenda, once this is approved. So if there are no objections with that date, we'll move forward. Seeing no objections, okay, approved. Okay, moving on to our last committee meeting, and I want to thank Chair Smith for backing me up in my absence. And at this point, I'm going to turn this over to you, Pat, since you've been heavily involved in the complaint process, which I got to commend you on. It was, very complex. And also, I know working real close with Kevin to try to get the language right and keep it simple. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would say at the top of the actual document that I put online, it says for the November 17th meeting of last year, and that's of course wrong. It's for tonight's meeting, but it was based on that November 17th distributed document. And so all the changes are on here, and there is a highlight. The highlights are different. Those are things that I did want to bring up, but I'll skip to that. If you just notice, like for instance, on 101D on page 2, there was a suggestion by Kevin just to combine the 2 provisions, and I did that. And then there are just some dropped words a little bit. Nothing that dramatic. I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at it, but they're just little small. They don't change the substance of the document. They just sort of are more for grammar, reading, things like that. But there are a couple little issues I do want to bring up, and that is, unless there are questions on the others. But on 101E2, there was a question where it does read, so this is provision 2 at the bottom of page 2. For appeals to the commission of a dismissal pursuant to 218-101-C2, I'm sorry, not the dash. The respondent shall respond as required under this subsection. Well, instead of provision, I put subsection. But in that subsection E, there was a question as with whether that was unclear about how the respondent shall respond. But if you look at section 1, it talks about they shall respond in 10 days. So I don't know. I'm sort of asking now with everyone taking a quick glance at it, but I thought it was pretty clear But there was a question. And if people just want to think about it and let me know if that is, and if we should put something else in there. Like I said,
It was pretty,
I thought it was pretty clear, but, okay. Well, I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Okay, so before we go to 101B on page 1, are there any questions about some of these changes? Because they're just scratch outs. Like I said, they don't change the substance of anything. They were just little issues brought to me to make it more clear. So if there are any questions, let me go to the last little thing, and that is 218-101 subsection B on page 1. And we had inserted, or we proposed, only violations of the plan shall be held as complaints subject to this chapter. The problem is, and this, I wasn't really thinking about this at the time, but for an example about why this is a problem, OIP came out with a decision years ago about, I think it was regarding emailing, a board member emailing inappropriately. And it was sort of, there were multiple instances, and OIP, it was actually one of their stronger worded decisions, which was kind of interesting, and said they may, I don't know if they directed or they may direct that this go to the neighborhood commission to, for potential sanctions. Because as everyone may know, OIP has no sanctions authority. They just merely make decisions upon whether whatever incident might violate the Sunshine Law. At least that's the way I understand it. So if we were to have this, there are certain things in, I do want to back up and just say one other thing, and that is if you look at the manual provided by OIP to the boards, it actually says that the neighborhood commission has first level review authority, and they don't probably use this terminology, but that's basically what it is, over issues regarding the Sunshine Law for the boards. Now, of course, OIP has the ultimate authority, and if they tell us, if the commission made a decision based on Sunshine Law and they didn't like it, then they could say, you know, they overrule us. But that's how it is. So if you look at B, in the instance of that one decision by OIP, we couldn't do anything because in that case, it was about emailing, and we don't have a specific provision in the neighborhood plan about that. And there are other issues like, say, with the pig, you know, the pigs, which means the permitted interaction groups. Yeah, that's not in the plan either. So if the boards do, you know, conduct their business in a way that is not in accordance with the Sunshine Law, then there's basically nothing the commission could do about it. So what I would suggest is that we drop this provision. That's a long way of saying, I guess I should have said that at the beginning, but I don't know if anyone's thoughts, but that's what I would suggest, because I just do not think it's necessary.
so basically, any complaint, even not related to the plan, can be filed.
We can dismiss it, but any complaint can be made. Yeah.
So are you saying just get rid of all of section B or just that first line?
All of section B. Because I don't think you can separate the.
Oh, yeah.
It says ineligible for review. So what I'm saying is there's some things that really, we just don't have in the plan that should be within the purview. Now, of course, there are things like, for instance, if someone says, I don't like my other, or I think my other board member is not conducting himself properly in his condo board association or his or her condo's board association. You know, we can dismiss it, just say that's not something that we feel is in our jurisdiction.
Do you have an example of something that's not outlined in the plan, but is something that would be considered like a complaint you would be?
Yes, like permitted interaction groups, like the email to other board members. Those type of things aren't in the plan.
What happens when someone cites a Sunshine Law violation and you'd like to use an official opinion from OIP? And and they're not tying it.
I think the example you used was something that's what we look at and go, that's like an OIP matter.
Yeah, but the way, it's, the practical situation is, from my understanding, is OIP's backed up to like 2 or 3, 4 years now. I mean, I don't know. But,
Not
but,
really.
okay, we'll say, okay, well, whatever. I mean, do you feel like that's not something the commission should? Okay, well,
I think the challenge for us has always been that we were tasked with rendering opinions and decisions on sunshine law. And yet our own attorneys are saying, yeah, but we're not the final on this. It goes to OIP because they're
That's
the
true.
ones. So we would like to have OIP opine on it, then you don't have to worry about us because you're gonna have the final decision. So
It's more like working the other way around, where if someone has a sunshine law issue, they go to ORP, they give their opinion, and then from there, you can do what you want with it, but if you came up with some kind of opinion that's relating to something that's a sunshine law or other state law type thing, that doesn't even guarantee that whatever you decided on as commissioner is gonna hold up anyway, because they could go to OIP and say,
Well,
this is what
that's-
the commission weighed in on, but
well, that's true. I mean, but that's true under any provisions that are related to the sunshine law issues in the neighborhood plan
that's
already.
always been the crux.
I know that's all, but the problem is that, the commission could see a board doing things they're not really supposed to, and basically, I mean, what would be the position of the commission to correct that behavior?
I mean, I think if, it's kind of like you said, OIP interprets the law, but they don't enforce it, but maybe if there was a line that would say, we would make some sort of decision in line with whatever OIP opined on.
Question. So in the removing of that provision, where it says this is like only complaints, like with the neighborhood plan, it's basically if we remove that, extending the jurisdiction of complaints,
Yeah, so you
And then-
file a complaint about anything, but then it would be up to them to just.
which wouldn't that burden us and also take away the authority of OIP?
It would not take away the authority of OIP. We can't take away the authority of OIP.
But the burdens.
I mean,
But
maybe,
would OIP see it as us overstepping?
no, it,
what? Yeah.
I can pull out. Let me actually cite if they have,
Well, there's that.
if you want to ask.
While you're grabbing that, a lot of unofficial complaints come to our office. A lot of them are addressed with our staff working with the chair or just reminding them, okay, this is the section of the plan, this is what you should do, or showing them some sunshine law and saying you can read it for yourself. This is just our unofficial advice. So if you did allow this part, that would open the window for a lot of other things to come through. The burden would be all the filing deadlines, the mailing costs, because I guess we can't get away with that, certified mail and everything.
Can opt out.
So.
I guess for us, it's like, there's already an avenue for
Yeah.
Okay,
plans to go to, so why would we open it up to more?
That's
Yeah.
why, because I was like, because isn't that the way that currently is protected, where it's like the NCO and the commission deal with like the neighborhood plan issues, and then all the other ones, like we address, but then it goes to OIP, right?
okay, let me just read this this is the open meeting guide to the sunshine laws for the neighborhood boards. This is actually the August 2024 version, but I don't think it's changed from the August 2025. That was on page 53. Basically, it says sunshine law complaints concerning neighborhoods, boards, blah, 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 blah. The neighborhood commission which shall have primary jurisdiction over neighborhood board issues. So it is primary, that,
Well, they put that in there for a purpose.
and then, so what's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we go back to maybe the history of this. The current plan does say that a complaint can be filed against board members or whatever it may be for alleged violations of this plan, and then as follows in certain items. So then this was just to assure that people were looking at the neighborhood plan and saying, yes, this issue occurred at a board meeting, or this is an issue. Here's the violation right here.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, I understand that, but there's some things that it misses too, that's the problem.
The short answer is they amended that after hearing our discussion.
Okay. So obviously there's something behind that. What else, what are you trying to say as far as,
On the
You don't
record.
want-
I don't know.
okay,
There's discussions.
It would be good if this commission could get a complaint that's already has an opinion from OIP that it was a
Absolutely.
violation or not a violation, right? I mean, that would be the best case scenario, and I think that's what we look at. If OIP says it's a violation, then okay, we deal with it and say, OIP agrees, it's a violation. But the challenge, I mean, I think the practical side is OIP always likes us to be the first because they don't want to necessarily deal with it. So if we can deal with it and settle it here, that's great.
Well, but we're the neighborhood commission. I mean, shouldn't we deal with it, the boards?
Yeah,
And
and yeah, I
so
agree.
there's that side of it.
And my view is that if we're gonna deal with it, then it would be nice to have OIP opine on it first.
Well, it would be, but that, you know, that as a practical matter, it seems like there's a big delay, so.
There is, depending on who files the complaint. The complaint that was filed by my predecessor, it took more than 2 years to get an opinion. We've had opinions come out of OIP in like a week, if it's filed by somebody else.
Okay, well,
So, I mean, I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus, but
So I have a question about this scenario. What if it's a complaint that comes in from an official, whether it's a state lawmaker or a city, on a board member, a complaint that happened outside a board meeting?
I think within, I mean, even in its current iteration of the plan, things have never really been about what happens outside of a board meeting.
yeah.
Cause we had this
That's
discussion
part of the personal matter.
last year when we had the chair who had an incident, but on neighborhood plan, there was no grounds to do anything. Because of the way he like carried himself outside of the neighborhood board meeting.
Right.
And we were looking at it, we're like, the only thing we can do is have a conversation because the neighborhood plan isn't about outside of it.
well, let me, if I could, Chair, and bring in to the discussion those folks online. I see Kevin Lai. Go ahead, please. Yeah, you're twice, but
Commissioner, thank you. Committee members, let me just take a step back to the era of typewriters, before computers, before AI and things like that. It seemed that the neighborhood commission was in some sort of a hierarchy of being an august body of knowledgeable folks who would be able to field questions that came up from the plebes or whoever was out in the community and had an issue, had a concern, had a suspicion that there may have been a violation of a neighborhood plan. And based on their own personal knowledge and reading of the neighborhood plan and all of the prior findings of fact, which again I've harped on before, are somehow now gone, which provide that robust body of information on which judgments about current complaints could be made. And then if you think about OIP, if you must, as the super supreme court to which an appeal could be made either by the neighborhood commissioners who are adjudicating a case or by a dissatisfied respondent or complainant after a rendering of decision was made by the neighborhood commission as part of the complaint process. I think that's the way a lot of us who are participants in the neighborhood board system kind of thought it would be. You know, we're counting on you guys to have an opinion, be able to render an opinion based on what you bring as commissioners to this table, what you've learned in the process and what you've researched. And we kind of expect that. And if it has to go above your authority or to somebody else, fine, we got it. But at least don't give up before you get started. Thank you.
thank you.
Can I ask
Yes, go ahead.
Well,
please.
To Kevin real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin. And this is just me, just a genuinely sincere question. If you had, say, a complaint that related to sunshine law, and you brought it before the commission here, and you knew 100% this was an open and closed case, sunshine law violation, but the commissioners looked at it and said, actually, we don't think it's a violation. Like, are you happy in just saying the buck stops there, or are you gonna elevate it up to OIP?
No, I found that I always double file. It's necessary.
So we're double filed, which is.
Well,
Well, the other thing too is that if we are the decision maker in the process, if a decision is made at this level and then the person appeals it or takes it to OIP, and OIP says contrary to our decision, we don't have to agree. We can just stick with what we got. Because OIP cannot force us.
Well, I wouldn't suggest,
And I don't want to use
Well-
Kevin as the only example just because, you know, I know other people file complaints, but it's like that, what he's talking about is something that we see a lot is people double filing and stuff like that. And
Or they trust the, like, the findings of OIP greater than oppression.
well, when it comes to sunshine law, they're supposed to be, they're the experts.
Yeah.
They're the, you know, arbitrating bodies, so. Well, let's hear from Kevin. I mean, not Kevin, Greg, please. Greg Mistaken.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Greg.
Aloha. I wasn't sure you could see me because I'm not on the app. I'm on someone else's computer and it shows up as a little window in the corner. So aloha, everyone. Yeah, I want to reiterate what Kevin said, which I agree with. And I just hope that, you know, as you go forward, you just recognize that, yes, the plan is what should be looked at when you're referencing concerns that are brought to the commission, but there may be some underlying things that affect the person's ability to chair or to be a representative on a neighborhood board that fall in the purview of the commission that may not be explicitly stated in the plan, but yet if you really look at it in its totality would require you to look at it and make an assessment. And it's really, in my opinion, it's really just, are the board members on the boards acting appropriately per the plan? Are they doing anything that's going to be disrespectful to our neighborhood board system? And that's what I would advise. And I kind of think that's what Kevin was saying, but I may be wrong, but that's where I would take that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, maybe we should think about this because this is really important. I think so. And okay. Yeah, and so look at everything else, see if there's something, but I would ask that without objection, good. Go ahead, Tom, if you want to put the last one.
Please finish your sentence.
Well, I was gonna say, Chair, if I could say if there's no objection, maybe we can table this to our next meeting. Sorry.
It's all right, our next meeting.
Well,
I thought we were putting this to bed today.
I kind of thought so, but.
No, it's okay.
This is important.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing too is, I wanted to suggest that as we compile to show the changes that we've made, that we go back to where we had 2 columns, what the neighborhood plan stated, and on the right side, what was changed to make it so easy as you go down. And that way, when we get done, of course, it's all got to be approved by OIP anyway. So, but Tom, what do you got?
Two things now. First, I don't know what you mean by approved by OIP.
Corp counsel.
So,
Corporate counsel, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
okay. As to this language right here, I agree with the suggestion of, in fact, removing it for the reason that your start on line 1 of 218-101, sub A, any person, board, et cetera, may file a complaint against whatever for alleged violations of this plan. Period, enough said. Similar to things that I have said in past meetings that years ago, when we started to overhaul the neighborhood plan, that part of the intent was to really make it more kind of a field manual, whatever. So you had your guide right there. Well, I want to say that based on making this distinction. This plan provides for itself. There is a complaint process. If there are alleged violations of the plan, anybody can complain directed to the NCO. What we are not having to repeat is language of HRS Chapter 92, that if there is any violation of the Sunshine Law, then it may be directed, a complaint may be directed to the Office of Information Practices. Where there is a little bit of an open window unaddressed, if you will, is that in section 211.319 of the rules of the commission, the parliamentary authority is Robert's Rules of Order. We don't say what you can do with that. I guess you would have to direct a complaint based on any alleged violation of Robert's rules to the neighborhood commission, which would make sense. But we don't say that. All we
That's in the
say
plan.
then is the references here in the plan So if it's in the plan, you certainly can complain about anything. And ultimately, it is up to the neighborhood commission, parenthetically the NCO, to determine whether in fact that is a complaint that can be appropriately dealt with. We don't need to have, say, a 25 item checklist as to, this is something that we immediately can get rid of, because it's supposed to go to OIP, whatever. I think the simplicity of not trying to address each and every potential source of a violation, alleged violation. That in this limited example, it's either the plan, it's the Sunshine Law, HRS Chapter 92, or it's Robert's Rules. That, I'm sorry, Joe Public, if you got a complaint, then direct it to the NCO. And we'll sort it from there. And I think hopefully the majority of what actually happens is, as Dylan has said, and that is, we end up doing a lot of phone calls or other things or whatever, trying to give some, unofficial advice, but just dealing with things on a day-to-day basis, hopefully before they become formal written complaints. One last quick comment. I would hope, Patrick, especially for what you were directing towards in earlier discussion of, if, I'm sorry to say, but if we just shorten the window of intake, then in many respects, that may also redirect some of the complaints might be to OIP, which has no window, okay, no cutoff. We are making one in a different way that instead of 45 days, whatever we're trying to say, 10, without looking at this. But it's a matter of, but if you got a concern, pick up the damn phone, call the NCO, right? I mean, that's the way the majority of it works. But back to the point, subsection B, I think is redundant in an unnecessary way and unnecessarily raises additional questions that we've been trying to hammer at here of, well, is this something really that, it really needs to go to OIP or whatever. If we say something in the plan without my looking for it, that we're supposed to file the agenda with the NCO X number of days, which I think it still says 7, okay, maybe it says 10, but the whole point is it's a little bit different than Sunshine Law, which is 6 days, okay? So that's the blanket HRS Chapter 92 is the agenda for a proper meeting must be filed not less than 6 days prior to the meeting. But for our purposes, to make sure that it can be handled and all the steps can be taken, whatever, we actually said it a little bit earlier. So if somebody doesn't do that, we can take it in a complaint that they violated that particular little point of the of the neighborhood plan. But let's just intake whatever. Just deal with it on the fly, as we're gonna have to in most cases already, rather than leave this for further discussion unnecessarily, because look to the plan as to where the complaint is supposed to go. Well, it's supposed to go to the executive secretary or the commission, or just follow this and let HRS Chapter 92 stand completely on its own, which is its statement that OIP is supposed to be the arbiter of anything Sunshine Law related. Okay, not the Attorney General, but specifically OIP within that organization, right? And just leave it there. So I go with your original suggestion at this point, in terms of, and certainly think about it more. But if we delete this, I think it actually reduces questions that we're not probably going to be able to sidestep anyway in terms of intaking complaints.
Thank you, Chair. We've made an effort. We've taken action, so we're tabling it until next month.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, table next, and thank you for the justification there, Tom.
Mhm.
Okay, any other comments? Here, none. Okay, moving on. Last meeting, Chair Smith went through, started the review of Chapter 13, Powers, Duties, Functions of Neighborhood Boards. He covered section number 2-13-101 and 2-13-102. And what I understand is there were no changes. Now we get into 2-13-103 today, and this will be political activity. And I'm sure you all have some comments. Okay, so let me go ahead and read, and when I get done, we'll go ahead and we'll discuss. Okay, political activity. The boards and their members shall not use the official board title or membership position to endorse a candidate for elective public office or engage in any political activity which could reasonably be implied to endorse or support a candidate for elective public office. The boards may conduct candidate forums. The section shall not preclude the right of any member while not engaged in performance of the member's scope of official duties. 1, to engage in the political activities as a private citizen, or 2, to list members' position as part of the member's experience if the member is a candidate for an elective public office. Okay, and I open it up here to first the commissioners. Any discussions? Any thoughts?
I have a clarifying question.
Yes.
So if someone on a board wants to run for office by existing as a member of the board and being a candidate, do they have to like resign from as being a member?
Right now, you resign when you get elected.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if like them existing as a candidate and a member is endorsing themselves.
Well, that endorsing the SOP would be in that candidate forum.
So just for, as far from like our office's perspective, that is like the number one complaint slash question we
Yeah.
get all the time, especially we're already receiving, we got a phone call today about it. Basically, it's that constant boundary of me being a board member, but me also running for office.
Yeah.
And how do you separate that out? That's like one of our biggest challenges, and it comes down to when you hold candidate forums and you're a candidate, but your neighborhood board is also holding a candidate forum. Are you having an unfair advantage? And millions and millions and millions of questions that we receive around this time about, how to navigate the difference between, being a board member and being a candidate at the same time. So it's a very big issue for us.
Yeah, because as it's written, I would interpret it as like existing as both would be interpreted as endorsing yourself. So I'm not saying I'm a fan of it, but I'm saying that it does give that image.
I don't know like explicitly, but it does draw other lines where we have received informal complaints of people basically
Yeah.
saying, well, they can't advantage of that, or even just the fact that they get to sit at a table and have screen time every single month while they're also a candidate, but I'm also a candidate, but I don't get the.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
those types of issues.
Because then it's also one of those ones like last campaign season in our district, there was an open seat. So there's 5 candidates. And so every neighborhood board, those 5 candidates came. But none of them were on the board, but they all still came. So it's like one of those ones where it's like the neighborhood board is seen as a venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
So skating. Yeah.
well, not launch, but it's also like it's the platform of like this is part of the campaigning. It's like showcase there.
Yeah.
It is easier when they're not a board member. Everybody shows up and everybody introduce themselves. I'm running. If you have a candidate forum, you guys can all be on the panel. It is a little bit more difficult if you're a board member and you got a lot of airtime because every issue you can talk about.
Yeah.
And you can start getting it to the point where, well, if I was elected, I would do this.
Or
Anyway, but the point is that, yes, if everybody's not a board member, that's one thing, a lot easier to manage. If you have one of them of that 5 who's a board member, then those other 4 will obviously have something to say. You're giving airtime to somebody.
Yeah.
The chair
So,
is responsible for maintaining the right conduct of
Yeah,
that
that's
candidate.
that candidate.
But again, that is in a neighborhood board area where you have a strong chair.
Well, that's beside the point. That's training.
That's what I'm saying though, like that's the
Just
thing,
saying,
like
because
it's ideal.
In all fairness, the candidate who's a board member
Yeah,
should not be using that
yeah,
potential elected position in discussions and trying to say, well, if I was elected, I'd be
Right.
taking care of that.
well, not even that it's not elected, but it's like,
Well, we get other candidates calling and saying,
Yeah.
this person's a board member, but they're campaigning in a certain way that I don't like, and is it a violation?
Well, because then like if the board member who is a candidate then is like, okay, then I'll be more reserved and I'll abstain. But then at that point, then they're not representing their district.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I ask.
Pat?
Well, sometimes you have the board chair running. I mean, usually, actually, I can think of instances in that case. But the point I wanted to bring up is that if we do try to say something like, if you're running, you have to resign or something like that. The challenge is a lot of these people run well before they file. So, that makes a challenging sort of situation too. I would just.
But transparently, that is the number one suggestion we get
Is that they should resign.
like some sort of language that's like the time that they officially file their paperwork with whatever on this as a candidate is when they should.
They should step away.
That's the normal suggestion we get.
That would be addressed in the last section of this subsection of this.
Yeah.
213.
You've been very patient.
Hey, Greg, you got your hand up.
And, sorry. Chair, if you could recognize yourself.
Oh, sorry, Tom. We did Greg first, and I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. I apologize too. Earlier, my hand stayed up after I spoke. I'm seeing a different view here, so I didn't realize that, but I do have it up now. I'll be brief. So 2 things with candidates that's important. Obviously, we have incumbents that show up at the meetings, and when the incumbents show up, they have a platform automatically. They can present what they're doing, things like that. So I think you just need to make sure the chairs are cognizant of that they don't spend too much time on their reports or try to, give reports on things that really are going in angles where they're just self-promoting or there's just a lot of like positive fluff. I know it's a very difficult thing, but it's something that should happen. And on the same note, which it's a little different, but it's kind of similar, at a candidate forum in the last cycle, I'm trying to remember, it would have been 2 years ago. Or no, maybe last year, there were, it was for Senate. No, it was 2 years ago. So two years ago, it has to be 2 years ago. So for that cycle, there was an opportunity for the candidates to speak, and it was a 5-minute time limit, and one candidate was given over 10 minutes. So to me, that's a problem. I've raised that before, and I hope I don't see that in the future, but I think it would be helpful if maybe it's put into the language of the plan that when they do have candidate forums, maybe you guys could set the time limit that for meetings where they allow candidates to speak, they're given 5 minutes, or if you want to give 10 minutes, and all are given equal time. If they don't use their time, then they lose it. But it was concerning to me that happened, and the chair just watched it, and the chair knowingly knew, because I saw the neighborhood assistant like go over and bump him and say, hey, it's going past, and he just let it roll. And I don't want to see that hopefully this year, because we do have an election cycle this year. Thank you.
Hey, Greg, your input is noted. So I took notes here. Tom?
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chair. Several things. First, as Dylan referenced a moment ago, Angie, as you first asked your question, bottom line is 213-109C directly states that a board member shall not be required to resign from the member seat to run as a candidate for elective public office. The language is something that I worked on. And the key is it distinguishes from appointed office, because a side issue became, what if a person or a member of the community or even a board member is being nominated for an appointed office for which a Senate hearing is required or whatever, right? So, where members wanted to lend support. So each element that goes through in this one statement is key. I was looking at this last night and just going, how come I didn't put that up in 213-103? And the distinction there is still good that, well, it relates more for the connection to public office. This could be reorganized a little bit to try to put it together better. Because what's also missing here, let me get to the missing element in a sec. Just to finish saying, Resign to Run is not an equal platform or basis anyway. Because a person holding state or county office running for federal office does not have to resign to run under Hawaii law. So you have these inequities there. The neighborhood board members are the lowest of the low. And so to require a neighborhood board member to resign to run if a candidate for something else, from past discussions, why this ended up being the way it is, was no, let's not try to apply that resign to run provision and get into the old Burns REOT battles with Frank Fossey and all that. So the missing element right here is disclosure. Because elsewhere for conduct is the requirement about disclosing any potential conflict of interest. Well, a potential conflict of interest very directly, and I've had this argument with a number of board members, whether or not they ultimately became candidates over the years, and that is what you are required to do without using that exact language, okay? But what you're required to do under the neighborhood plan is that if you are a candidate for some office, not tying that to when you file your candidate registration papers, but when in fact you start conducting yourself as a candidate, then the proper thing to do, which some folks then immediately leave the right path, is to disclose the simple fact that you are a candidate for such and such office that needs to be stated in a public meeting, the board's meeting, so that it is recorded in the minutes, period, you're covered, move on. Because you're not then obligated to repeat that disclosure at every subsequent meeting, which then you can start getting into arguments of, well, now you're a little bit grandstanding and taking advantage of this or whatever. No, you just say it once in the open meeting, it goes in the minutes, you're done. That is something that is not on its face absolutely clear in the plan because the disclosure covers everything. So my other quick statement here is simply, this is where the guidebook comes in, where a state or a section that specifically goes through so many of these issues that are so recurrent are dealt with as part of the guidebook, not stated as plan, because you're not trying to come up with a Napoleonic code and have a statement for everything. But in the regular things that come up, even having to do with the conduct of candidate forums, then you've got information on that based on experience stated. Okay, so anyway, leaving that right where it is. So the net result here that I made a note for myself is take a swing at possibly reordering, even bringing disclosure kind of into just a section that deals with, I'll say political activity for the moment, but deals with this distinct situation that is not on its face as clearly dealt with in the plan. Okay, other than that, actually it stands up, and based on the history of how we did this, it's a matter that this takes from state law, it takes from the prior neighborhood plan, it takes from revised ordinance in Honolulu in terms of what consistently has been the language. That's what it boils down to.
Okay, can you help me with that language and then to put it in there then?
Yes, and one last comment, if I may, and that's simply what I am doing also, I've made reference to this before, is I'm now doing two things, because I now have the materials in my possession. First, I did find in my old digital files the original plan as submitted before Corp Council started taking out a whole bunch of specific references to either state law or whatever, which should have still been included in there. The second thing, looking at those references, which in my opinion, and under the administrative drafting rules manual should be included there. And then the second thing is I did finish about a week and a half ago took only one day, I thought it'd take longer, of being at city clerk's office, going through the three ring binders that are there and getting copies of, in fact, everything that directly relates to the 2008 plan basis, and then the 6 or 7 amendment time periods that things happen. So I'm trying to go through, as I've talked to Lloyd especially, is double checking word for word. Did everything in fact get into the document as currently posted on the website? That's my measure, is what is currently posted as the master neighborhood plan on the website. Did each of these points of amendment actually sift in appropriately? Because we're not sure that we have a master document.
With-
So you're telling me that there might have been things approved that weren't reflected in the actual plan that's posted as our neighborhood plan? Is that what you're telling me?
That's a possibility. And the only basis of that is, I personally have not checked it.
Wow.
That's the only basis I'm putting it on.
I'm sorry, cross.
But for a different measure, if you will, and there've been so many of us, as a former executive secretary, there are so many of us who've gone through the door and so many other staff that have changed over the years. One of the challenges that I've talked to Lloyd and both Dylan's about is there in fact one place that there is both a hard copy of some of this type of record, as well as a master digital file for neighborhood plan and initiative petition stuff, just limiting it to that, so that when something is done, you're able to go back to the master. Because the neighborhood commission office is the advisor of the plan. So at some point, just trying to give a new milepost that in fact, yes, somebody has checked this, somebody has
Right.
verified by looking at those records. Okay,
Crosses.
thanks.
Okay, across, you got anything to add?
Yes, thank you. Really quickly, I just wanted to share as a neighborhood board member, former candidate, and former appointed elected official. I never had any problems. Dylan them worked with me. The neighborhood board commission office worked with me the entire time. I don't know if there was any complaints about me as a candidate, but nothing. I've never had anything come forward that gave me any challenges. So I'm not saying the process right now is like perfect, but the process that we currently hold has been doing its job, at least for right now. So I just want to share that really quickly.
Okay, well, thank you. The one item here, on B, the boards may conduct candidate forums. That's a very general statement. And the question I have for everybody, should there be some details in there just to give guidance to the boards? And Dr. Melendez, you've conducted these candidate forums. You got anything to add on that?
Yes, when we conducted the candidate forums, we did it in such a way. The last time we did it was between our board and board number 25, and we announced it ahead of time. All the candidates who are running were there. They were all given equal time, and we did it on our board time. We started the meeting, introduced all the board members on both sides, and then we went right into introducing the candidates, and they were briefed ahead of time. So there was a question answer session. Each candidate from each side was able to answer the same question. Then we moved along through all the candidates, and it worked out really well. There was no board member endorsed any candidate at all. We were free, fair, and open. We allowed them to speak, and we also took questions online, and it worked out really well. And everyone
Okay.
was heard.
Okay, yeah, because, it's a general statement and I put my trust in board chairs, in all fairness, Greg mentioned that some individuals had more time than others. The chair, in all fairness, needs to keep control of that situation. And Cross, you got another input to put in?
Yeah, I wanted to share that I would like to propose a statement to include something about fairness. Like it needs to be conducted in a fair way, because I've been a part of forums that I don't think were fair to all the candidates. So, but there's nothing in the plan that says it has to be fair or how it should be conducted. So I never like fought for any type of complaint process for that.
Okay. All right, Dylan?
When chairs or boards do want to have candidate forums, they definitely talk to the neighborhood assistant and our staff about, okay, here's some examples. And so you can look at agendas that were posted. Some were more detailed than others. Some were just, hey, this is a 5-minute window for you to identify yourself, share, your passion, what you're running for, and then leave it at that. Others, like Dr. Valendro stated, was Q&A. And then the fairness is, well, should the questions be the same, proposed to all? Should they get them ahead of time? There's so many details you can get into. I do like the fairness, and that's always Lloyd's take, is when chairs want to ask, what should we do? Can it be one party only? No, let's be fair to all candidates.
Well, I'm
I
glad
don't
that
know if yeah, more is necessary.
well, I'm glad that you're providing oversight to the boards just to help them and also maintain that fairness. And I did watch the candidate forum that Mililani did, and then I thought it was exceptionally well done. 2 board chairs working together with the candidates. And Michelle Diamond Head, have you had issues? I'm just giving her a chance to.
As far as candidates from
Have you had any
our
candidate forum
board,
issues?
as far as candidates from our board running for office, no, but we do have a conflict with a new member that is working for the mayor's office. And he was, I think, supported as the Parks and Recreation Committee chair before we found out about this conflict. He has since recused himself. It seems that anybody running for office must recuse themselves from the neighborhood board actions and decisions while they are running in order to neutralize their position, because we are all elected members and they must be beholden to the community, not to themselves. That's all I have to say.
All right, well, thank you for your input, because I know that that your board as well has conducted those forums, and I too have watched those as they were conducted. Okay, so where we're at right now, we've already reviewed 2-13-103 political activity. The notes I took, again, we're looking at all fairness in the way we conduct our forums. Tom, you're going to give me the right language to put in for disclosure. Next board meeting, we'll come back and do a quick review of this. Go ahead, Tom.
And also, I just noted something here for possible addition to sub B. The boards may conduct candidate forums. I'll play around with language, but even so much as in a nonpartisan, fair, and reasonable manner to promote public awareness. I mean, something that also gets a little bit more to that.
Yeah, so what we'll do for everybody, for the next commission meeting on this next month, we'll do a quick review and we'll have the right language in there, and we'll go ahead and check it off and say, okay, it's good, or you need to add anything else. Go ahead.
And just one last comment, that is, I would not recommend it at all, trying to put guidance on, other than what I just said for that couple of words, any guidance for how to conduct the candidate forum or whatever in the plan. That's something that's good for the guidebook, but don't do it where you gotta go through amendment rule.
Well, I'm also comfortable enough, NCO stood up and said, wait a minute, we're monitoring this and we're working with each of the boards.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no objections, we're gonna move on to 2-13-104. And everybody, this is the big one, because everyone is held to the highest standards, and especially respecting each other. Standards of conduct. Board members in the performance of their duties shall demonstrate by their example of the highest standards of ethical conduct to the end of the public, the public may justify, have trust and confidence in the integrity of the neighborhood board system. Board members shall hold their offices or positions for the benefit of the public, shall recognize the public's interest in their primary concern, and shall faithfully discharge their duties of offices regularly, regardless of personal considerations. Section B.
Here.
Board members shall not use their positions to secure or grant special consideration, treatment, advantage, privilege, exemption of themselves for any person beyond that which is available to every other person. And in C, board members are not officers or employees of the city by reasons of their position. However, the standards of conduct policy shall apply to all board members. And to me, that should be parallel and equal to what the city employees are held at. So, Tom, open up for discussion.
Short history is very simply, except for C, this language to put into the massage hardly at all to refer to board members. But the bottom line is this language comes, as I recall, directly from the city charter. The last statement for subsection C is to stay in the plan, something that really only came around to me shortly before I became executive secretary. Excuse me. And that was that distinction of officer versus employee versus board member who is in Never Never Land. Unless, as even Michelle just mentioned, unless that person by their other hats happen to be a city officer, employee, or whatever this might apply. So the bottom line is the great majority of the language here in 104 comes directly from the city charter. And then sub C, we're clear to say we're in the city system in that regard. This standard of conduct and ethics policy absolutely applies to all board members as well. Thanks.
Okay,
Can I ask you a question?
go ahead.
Okay. One question I have, which is adjacent to this, when you are a candidate for neighborhood board or that whole process, is there ever a background check? Like genuine question.
No,
Is there ever a spot where it says you must be 18 years of age?
18.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says 18. No, because
18
whenever we
years.
talk about like how people carry themselves, I've just always wondered this.
Now, we've had some embarrassing situations.
Like just the vetting process for the candidates, if there was ever like language about that.
Yes.
I'm not citing any actual example of needing it, but I know in the past there has been, but just curiosity.
But when it pops up, though, action will be taken.
Like Joe Schmo.
The concept of a neighborhood board is that you represent the community.
Yeah.
And your community is made up of all kinds of people. So they all have a right to be on the board. And you can actually be in prison and still be a board member.
Yeah.
You just do have to be
You just gotta make the meeting.
legally here. You can be an immigrant.
You have to
can
live
be
in
an
that-
alien, but you
Yeah.
have to have papers.
Yeah, no, because I was also thinking about like if there's ever board members that like can't meet at a school. Because of all priors, and if like that was ever,
Didn't they have a board member with a temporary restraining order or something? No.
that's what I'm saying, so that's why I was like, is there?
Well, we overcome that because we have hybrid meetings or
No.
Yeah.
virtual.
Yeah.
But,
Just curious.
but it is, yeah, but there is no
Curiosity.
real,
Short answer is no.
no.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, any other discussion here? Hey, Kevin?
Chair, thank you. I have two sets of notes for section A and then section C, but I just wonder what analysis has the committee done to ascertain the most frequently cited sections of the neighborhood plan, which are submitted on complaint forms. I know that 213-104A is often cited, at least as the instances in my inbox. And I think the inclusion of this warrants a discussion. So I've got a pseudo legal construct, which I hope that you'll consider. Something that is the highest is the best. It's devoid of faults, because if there were faults, then that said thing could not be deemed the highest. That kind of makes sense, I think. So hence, to what degree of the standards that we'll talk about shortly will the commission hold neighborhood board members? And if not to the highest standards, then what gaps or leaks or slide bys will be permitted should something come through the complaint process? And if those are not codified here, then it seems difficult to know how any judgments will be made equitably for all members who might be so accused about violating one part of the neighbor plan or another. So I think this language needs a little bit of clarification, or at least to define some carve outs to indicate that the commission will defer considerations of violations or accused violations of certain neighbor plan sections. So what comes to mind immediately is 214-101, the oath of office, and 214-126 about parliamentary authority. So if a board member is accused of not following those documents that we attest to in our oath that we will follow, are they then not following what would otherwise be deemed the highest standards of ethical conduct? And hence, they should be subject to a filing of a complaint. I think this is the pathway through which we get to issues of sunshine law violation, because if you're not following the statutes, then you're not following the highest standards of ethical conduct, because to not follow them means you're not being ethical in this fashion. So I think that's worthy of discussion. I think we need to clarify that. If I could jump to section C, the mention of the standards of conduct policy, it might be good if there could be a better clarification of exactly what this is. Is this the RCH Article 11 portion? Is it the ROH Chapter 1 Article 19? There may be other portions of this that are scattered throughout, but if this is what's prepared by the Ethics Commission, maybe a direct reference to that is what's needed here for clarification. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, noted. Thank you. Appreciate the input. Chair Smith?
Yeah, I note Kevin's contributions, but I would advocate not changing any of the language in this provision. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Tom, before I go to you, we got Dr. Melendez. Go ahead,
I have
Steve.
a quick comment. Thank you very much, Chair. I have a quick comment on 213-104. There's one word that's missing, and I had discussion with directors today about it. The word is fiduciary. Board members shall hold their offices or positions. It says for the benefit of the public, shall hold their offices or positions. It should be, I would suggest, in the context of fiduciary positions for the benefit of the public. A lot of times people in public service, regardless, they say benefit, but that's can be innocuous. But if it's fiduciary, fiduciary is in the term of a lawyer working for their client. They're working as fiduciary. Fiduciary in the context of a investor, not working on commission, but working for the betterment of their client to maximize their investment. So that's for your consideration.
Okay, all right.
How about fiduciary?
That thing is too noted.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, hold on, Michelle. I'll give you a chance afterwards. Okay, Greg?
Thank you. Yeah, the oath of office, I think, is extremely important. And if you state you're going to comply with the laws of the state and the neighborhood plan, and then you don't, and then someone raises a concern, and then they approach the NCO, and the NCO maybe listens, or maybe, says, I'll talk to the chair, if it's a chair in some examples, and then nothing happens, and then you try again, and then, a complaint is lodged at some point, and then is dismissed and is delayed and dismissed, and maybe another complaint. But as these things go on, and I know from experience, and most of you know this except a couple of the new members, it's concerning. So I think you absolutely have to look at that oath of office as preeminent. It's one of the most important things. And when it's violated with clear intent and clear evidence, then that board member should be removed from the board. And you as a commission have an obligation to do that. And if you don't, and I believe this should be part of the language, you need to look at the section for the commission that the commissioners that don't do that are removed from the commission, and that there's some procedural manner to do that, because otherwise we have nothing. We have no honesty, integrity, and transparency, and no procedure for fairness. So I hope you appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Okay. All right, your comments are noted there, Greg. And Tom?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things here. One, I would not, as an attorney, add the term fiduciary here. When you look at it in the dictionary, fiduciary is the absolute highest duty that either an attorney would owe to a client or any agent would owe to another. It's a long road to try to develop that type of concept for a neighborhood board member to the public as a whole as well. Secondly, that raises other types of good examples, though, in which basically 213-104 is really aspirational guidance at its heart. There is a constant tension between, I perceive that you are not acting in the best interest, or I know you own that real property that's so close to this development, or all these other kinds of things. Well, in the general picture, then you're looking at other potential violations of the ethics code or other types of things or whatever, and stuff. But at least the aspirational statement that is in the city charter and again stated here kind of serves as that guide. And then if you're really going to get into complaints or other challenges or whatever, then usually, hopefully, you've got more to go on. And you end up relying on the other either law statements or rules or whatever compared to simply statement A, okay, aspirational in that way. But it's that tension that is in so many places in the plan or the charter or the statutes all the time.
Okay, all right, thank you. Got one more comment. That'll be the last one from the public on this issue. I'll get back to you. Michelle?
Sorry,
Michelle?
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
So sorry. Very interesting conversation here, the definition between fiduciary and, well, the definition. Regarding our boards, don't our boards have a fiduciary obligation to our constituents in the highest duty to our constituents, not to the city administration or developers or other special interests? Of the definition of fiduciary is involving trust, especially regarding the relationship between our boards and our constituents. We are elected in trust, their trust, to represent their interests, not other interests. And we really need to get into this. I know, Larry, I'm sorry. We're getting into the weeds here. I know you want to get beyond that, but this is essential. This is why we're elected. This is why we run. This is why we perpetuate our representation, our legal representation through the city ordinance, through even the state statutes. So let's take this seriously.
Okay.
We have a fiduciary responsibility to our constituents.
Yeah,
To
understand your
represent
comments.
them fairly. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. And then, you heard Tom, he brought that up. But I think the other thing in layman's terms, we do represent the highest standards. And that's the bottom line. And that's easy for everybody to understand. One more comment and we're gonna.
Exactly. Thank you.
Oh, my comment was
Committee
in
chair.
section A.
Speak up because you can hear the microphone.
Sorry. Yeah, in section A, when it says offices or positions, could we just cut it to positions? Because in B and C, it never says offices.
Say that again.
So in section A, it says shall hold their offices or positions for the benefit of the public, and then later says discharge the duties of their offices. But then in B and C, it's talking about positions. So it's just a cleanup
Okay.
to remove offices
Okay.
where it is twice.
Okay.
Well, C, I mean,
My
I guess you
definition
could say
is
by
not-
reason of their office, but their
Yeah.
position is a general term in that sense, so I don't see a problem there, but.
I guess it's like, in my mind, the clarity of it is going like, these are positions as representations, like you have like not an honor, you have the responsibility of that, but it's also like, you're not holding office. You're representing and you're there to do a public service, but just to clarify. That's why, because then the rest of the language is about how you're not using that position to like gain anything that you shouldn't. You're just there to continue to steward and provide a service to the public. So that's why I'm just saying remove the word offices.
I guess it sounds like a very political word to call it.
That's why I'm just like, because it's an or.
But when you look at, but when you look at B, it's like their position, their position is as in an office, you know, so it's.
So let positions cover both in the first section and just get rid of offices.
Well, to me, it kind of eliminates any ambiguity of whether you call a board member holding a position or holding an office.
Let's take a look at that for consideration.
Just for consistency.
Okay, and then lastly, what I got, just to let you know, I've been with the commission here a whole year. And all the complaints that came in, and when you got board members attacking other board members, you got board members attacking legislators, you got legislators attacking board members. This 2-13-104 is very generalized. But when you get down to the city, the conduct that city officials, the uphold highest standards, they have definitions in there in regard to bullying, which covers harassing, intimidating, threatening, insulting behavior, harassment, acts to which create a work environment that is a reasonable person would find severely unpleasant or hostile due to actions such as repeated unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct, whether or not the actions violate an individual's civil rights or federal, state laws. Those are specifics in there where their city leadership can take action. And these are the key things that they instill in all their officials. You will not do any of this stuff. And yet, we've got these things happening in board meetings. And when we refer to the violation 2-13-104, there's nothing in here that says harassment, bullying. And I would like to recommend that we take some of the city's verbiage, their language, and put it in here. Because those are the big reasons. When you add up all the complaints over the last 3 years, you'll see a lot of it's because of those actions that fall in those categories. What do you think, Lloyd?
No, go ahead, Angie.
Isn't that what the provision of C is about? How we're still held to that despite not being an officer or employee?
Yeah, but I'm talking about these specifics.
Yeah.
Harassing.
I think C just in the standards of conduct policy, that's the title of this section, standards of conduct. I don't think it refers to the city, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, okay, because I was gonna say, I thought like this provision made it so that we were responsible under that as well.
I can see that. I mentioned city in the first.
Yeah.
sentence Of C, but however, the standards of conduct policy shall apply to all board members. I'm still thinking that's standards of conduct 2-13-1.
That's relating just to that top section.
Just to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I thought that was like the loophole to that guy, or not the loophole, but like
I can see
the shortcut.
So I think they just basically the above section. So that would actually broaden it to more.
Okay, that makes more
So
sense.
Tom, what are your thoughts on that? To add that language into standards of conduct?
I just made a note for looking at this further, talking to you later. It's possible to reference something else, but first, what Dylan just said is correct as you look at this. The only reference internal to itself is the statement to subsection A. Again, you start going down that rabbit hole if you then want to start including somehow in the plan things that apply in other contexts, meaning by this, I'm not sure the source of what you're reading. Is it in human resources? Is it in, city council rules?
City directive.
So maybe it's an ethics
Yeah,
document,
yes.
I assume.
I see the top as being personnel manual, Department of Human Resources, et cetera, 3 employees. Now,
No,
that's very useful information though. Okay, now if we wanted to include an anti-bullying statement as one bad example, then something could, but again, where do you stop? If this is the aspirational statement, move on. If you have something else, then that's more something, again, where the guidebook is far more catch-all, and especially as bullying is, the definition has changed considerably in the last 10 years, you know, to be far more inclusive of the types of conduct or whatever. So I wouldn't go there for the plan.
Well, I personally, looking at board meetings and events that happen, especially holding the public accountable as well. So the chair could bounce them out of the meeting because of harassment, because of bullying, those kind of things. I just like to see that specifically in here. But anyway, that was for conversation. Go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, like, in the same vein, I think that information is important, but I'm almost wondering if it should be its own section, just because these two sections right next to each other, standards of conduct and conflict of interest, especially when it comes to conflict of interest, which I'll talk about later, but both of these sort of imply standard of conduct being more about, I don't know, general ethics, whereas conflict of interest is more based on money. And when you have that, standards of conduct isn't so much about like harassment, it's more about just general ethical behavior. So with that said, you know, basically anything that could give you a benefit, that's not a financial benefit, is what standard of conduct to me sounds like it's written this way. So with that said, maybe there should just be a separate section that addresses that.
Okay, Tom?
Real quick, there is, I'll have to look for it later, but specifically within the sunshine law is that point of if a member of the public is being disruptive of the meeting or whatever, they may be removed. Got to double check to see if that shows up here. But one of the things that we talked about in a prior meeting of this committee was there are certain statements that are taken verbatim, if you will, or close to it, from the sunshine law, that the direction at this point probably is better to reduce that in order to accommodate changes in sunshine law, take care of themselves, and also just make that general reference to chapter 92. So again, it's one of those things, you can't load everything into the plan, but you do, as chair of the meeting, have that authority to remove somebody, member or public, who's disrupting the meeting, whatever. So there is that coverage.
Okay, Dylan?
Yeah, this might be a better discussion for the section 214 under discussion. Because it mentions remarks that include profanity, disrespectful, disparaging, or abusive, or violations. You can be removed from that, but that's all about what happens at a meeting. So if you did expand and it was digital, was that a board member outside? We've had complaints like that come to the office. That might be a better spot for this.
Okay, we'll take note of that and then, and just.
118.
118.
For 1-8,
But
okay.
it's currently written.
Okay, and for our forum today, just let you guys know, I'm trying to keep these meetings reasonable, between 60 and 90 minutes. We're coming up on the 90-minute point, and there's no hurry because we're chunking through this thing, but I'm gonna let Kevin and Dr. Melendrez finish up real quickly. If you could tell me what you got, and then I'm gonna close up the agenda.
Thank you, Chair Varay. I just wanted to say, I believe I'm in agreement with you with your earlier comments. You know, I think some clarification is necessary. I don't think that board members should be able to call another board member a MAGA-inspired white supremacist. But at the same time, I don't think that the person who tries to file a motion to censure the person who said that should have penalties implied upon him or her because of interpretation of that as being bullying. So there's a lot of nuance to this. Again, I would ask that there's some clarification in 104C about what exactly or where the public can find the specific standard of conduct policy. Because I looked on the Honolulu.gov website today and got pointed to 4 different directions. Thank you.
Okay, and Dr. Melendrez?
Thank you, Chair. Whenever I read things, specs, laws, etc., I look at it in context. Comment 213-104 is setting a gold standard. This is the standard of conduct. Item B is addressing benefit. We, as board members or commissioners, are actually the county personnel, do not receive benefit outside. We don't, as board members, we don't receive benefit. Commissioners don't receive benefit by way of our positions. Item C, they're talking about, okay, is the negative side reason of the position, standard of conduct shall apply to all board members. The items when you're talking about bullying and these items are already there. In definition in the county, it's called workplace violence, the same exact term as the state, workplace violence. So instead of writing another paragraph, if you did want to put something under C or in C about that, not only board members, but any of, same as any county personnel or under, and I don't know the section, the law, but are under the section of the law such and such concerning workplace violence would not be permitted, period. That includes what Mr. Lai mentioned and others had mentioned about any kind of disparaging conducts. We don't do that. Okay, that's also noted under workplace violence because it talks about physical, talks about emotional, and it talks about those items. And for that in the state and the county, a person can be dismissed.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Point of order,
you.
Mr. Chair. I've
Hold-
had
hold
my
on,
hand
Michelle.
up and I have one last comment.
Michelle, hold on a second.
You can let it
Go
go.
ahead.
No, you can let it go.
Okay, Michelle, you got last word. Go ahead.
Well,
But
I
the
don't
point's
want
gonna be-
last word, but I just want to share some thought, one brief thought regarding bullying. What if the chair of a certain board is dictating to the board and calling a well intentioned and knowledgeable member a disruptive member when he is only speaking in the public interest? This dictatorial board chair, we'll call it sort of envisioned, would in fact control the meeting, control the board, and diminish the stature of the well-meaning elected board member. We've seen this in action. We have evidence on this. It's not our board. It's another board, and I'm not going to mention any names, but this needs to be in the neighborhood plan, that the board chairs need to be democratic and not just attacking people under false pretenses. Thank you.
Yeah, understand what you said, and one of the things is with our new, in my opinion, our new commission leadership is we're going to be monitoring our neighborhood board chairs and trying to help them along with their facilitation and properly and respecting their board members as well as board members respecting the chair. We hold the chairs totally accountable for those meetings, and they need to be respectful and also do what's fair with each individual. When it's
You're the
unfair-
best, Larry. Thank you.
Yeah, and when they're unfair, that's when the complaints come in and comes to the commission, it's flagged. But the other thing is Chair Smith and I are going to be attending future meetings, and we're gonna be monitoring these things, and we're not gonna be just sit back and say, hey, take a break a second, we're gonna take care of it, but we will. So anyway, thank you, Michelle. Lloyd, you got the last call.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to what Tom said earlier, and he used the word aspirational.
Yeah,
And I think that's something we need to keep in mind because the document that we're working on is about the neighborhood boards. And if you start talking about bullying and workplace violence, there is a set protocol. If somebody makes a complaint about workplace violence, you have to follow certain rules. It just kicks in automatically. The challenge for the boards is that none of the board members are subject to the ethics laws. So all of a sudden, you got a board members that aren't subject to the ethics laws, but then you got a complaint coming in. And how do you do that? So I like to go back to what Tom said, and I think a lot of this is aspirational. We hope you comply. We hope you live to a certain standard. And I think that's that is the hardest thing to justify in terms of, we'd like to make it black and white, step by step by step, so we know exactly what the procedures are. And the problem is, you can't,
well.
because we don't fit.
I agree with you, and I really I want to have it for the chairs
Right,
to be able to reference certain things when they've got members of the public that disrespect them, to bullying. I've seen it, you know, and the chairs should not just let that go. They need to take action on a point of order called. And then that individual is asked to correct themselves. They don't, you can get them up. So, but anyway,
Anyway,
it is already 7:30. I want to thank everybody for your comments. For all of you that provided comments today, if you'd like, you can send me an email, just a quick recap of what you said. I do have the AI. It'll be in our minutes of what you said. But the other thing is, I want to put it on my own record. I got your comments because next meeting, we'll back and review these and we'll have the right language. And then we'll take a look and says, okay, is that what we want to change? Yes. And then we move on. But we got to start chunking through this and do what's right. Okay. Other than that, we're going to defer items number 105 through 109. And announcement, next neighborhood commission meeting. Chair Smith will be conducting that next week, Monday at 6 o'clock. And our next committee, 2 weeks.
Monday is a holiday.
26.
Oh, on the 26th.
Yeah.
Sorry, the 26th.
They are
That's right, we went early. Okay, and the next committee meeting will be on February 9th at 6 p.m. So other than that, thank you, and this meeting is adjourned.
thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.